We will get started here. So I was telling a few people as they walked in, kind of the story about this. Jeff and I have worked together with a lot of athletes for a really long time, and we've just kind of collaborated back and forth about how it's been mainly with athletes, how there's a big gap in between like what we do here and what they do in physical therapy, and like how do we close that gap? And Skyler and Kayla and I all read the same book by Peter Attia, and that's kind of what was the culmination of this today, just about like longevity and what that looks like to live a longer, healthier life. So I guess I'll introduce you to Jeff. This is Jeff Kautz, and I think he'll give you
I'll introduce
the next one.
I just wanted to tell a couple of stories. First of all, thank you for being here. I know there's a lot going on, so thank you for taking some time. We're going to try and keep it to like 30 minutes, but we'll stay here as long as you have questions. So if you have stuff you're wondering about, like we'd love to chat. This is something Skyler and I talk a lot about in our gym. His desk is unfortunately right next to mine, so he has to hear all my crazy ideas. And we've talked about this topic a lot. Two things happened in my life that kind of changed my thinking about this. One is, a couple years ago, we hired an instructor to come teach a class called Modern Management of the Older Adult. And he started talking about some of these statistics of as we age, right, your body starts to decline. And there's kind of milestones. And I work with patients all the time in the hospital and the outpatient clinic. And there are these kind of levels where pretty soon maybe you can't take care of yourself, or you can't do the things that you want to keep doing. And so as my body continues to age, I'm like, I want to think more about how do I want to spend those last few decades, whenever they are, of my life? Like, what kind of things do I want to be able to do? And so they got me thinking a little bit about that. So if you think about the ability to just in and out of a chair, which seems very simple, all of us probably don't even think about doing that during the day. But there are times in the hospital where somebody cannot push themselves out of a chair, which means they need to go to some sort of rehab, maybe a skilled nursing facility, maybe assisted living, go live with somebody else so that they can have the help that they need to just get it out of the chair. Something we just take for granted. They call that 1 repetition max. So if your 1 repetition max is not being able to get your body weight out of a chair, like that becomes a problem. You need somebody else's help. So that kind of got me thinking like, okay, I definitely want to live in my own home as long as I can. I want to be able to take care of myself as long as I can. I want to be able to carry my groceries in the house when I'm 80. And now we actually have some pretty good research that Peter Attia goes through. How many are familiar with Peter Attia Outlook? Yeah, some of you. So he wrote a recommendable book about how we age and trying to age well, right? We're all going to age. We're all going to get to the spot where our bodies are not doing what we want them to do. But we'd really like the curve to be like this instead of like this. And there are actually some things that you can do. Your body can change really at any age. They've taken some studies with like 80-year-old and put them in the gym, started lifting weights, and they make meaningful gains in their strength and function. So as a physical therapist, that's super encouraging to me, right? That's what I do all day long, is trying to help people get stronger, get their endurance up so they can do the things they want to do. So that was kind of one key thing in my life that kind of changed my thinking. The second one is I started having back pain that would just not go away. And I knew all the physical therapist things to do, and I tried them all. It was marginally better, but not that great. We were actually in this gym and we hosted a course. And a guy saw me bend over to pick up a weight. He's like, dude, what's wrong with your back? It's like, it's fine. It's been bothering me for a while. So he shared with me a study of a guy, they took people and did a 12-week deadlift program, which basically just loads some of those muscles in the backside of your hips and your spine. So I was like, I've tried everything else, I'm gonna try it. And sure enough, about maybe 3 months in, like my back pain was 90% better. And I still have trouble once in a while, but I still deadlift twice a week just because I feel so much better. So a couple things in my mind changed where I was like, as I age, I need to take care of myself so I can keep doing the things that I love doing. So anyways, with that introduction, Skyler and I have had tons of interaction back and forth with the gym, and he put together a really nice slideshow talking about this particular topic. So Skyler's a physical therapist. He works for us at our Kautz facility. Moved here from Wyoming a year ago. So anyways, like I said, he has the misfortune of sitting right next to me, so we dialogue about this throughout the day. So anyways, Skyler, go ahead. And then if you have questions, we'll stick around afterwards.
Yeah, like Jeff said, I'm Skyler. Funny story, me and Kayla were at gymnastics and I overheard them talking about this book and I was like, yeah, that looks great. So then I got this going on.
So Skyler, so we talked about gymnastics, and Ty is the one who gave it to me. So it's come like full circle now.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So this presentation is mostly on Peter Attia's book, right? So anybody who hasn't read it is going to hopefully learn something today. It's a general outline of what we're looking at with longevity, because if we went in depth, we could be here for hours. So when we're talking about health span, we all know what lifespan is, right? It's the number of years in our total life. Well, with longevity research and in education, health span is the amount of quality in those years, right? So as you can tell by the graph on the right, without any intervention, as we age, we go down until our life ends, right? So then Peter Attia classifies where we're at right now with medical advancements as Med 2.0. And so as we age, our lifespan's gotten a little bit longer and our health span's gotten a little bit better, but overall we get to the end of life and medicine's able to keep us alive. And you know, and like Jeff was talking about, we see that all the time as physical therapists. End of life, we're trying everything that we can to help people function as well as they can, right? So now this new Med 3.0 that Dr. Attia is talking about is increasing our health span in a manner that we can live those better quality years for longer. And then there's different things in longevity overall, but his kind of standpoint is we're going to have a longer, more productive life, and then at the end we'll have a steeper decline, but it'll be quicker. So overall, he goes over 6 pillars of longevity in his book. I think these are pretty encompassing. So we will go over each of these as we go along, but you got exercise, community, sleep, nutrition, brain health, and then emotional health and stress management. So just leading off, we can have an effect on all of these pillars, and exercise is a huge portion of it, and that's why I feel like, you know, Jason and Kayla and us are on the same page with this, because exercise is a great way to impact a lot of those pillars in one simple strategy. So as a physical therapist, you know, we look at movement screening, see how well the quality of motion, specific. I have a certification in a movement screen, so I look at different movements such as lunge, squat, push, pull, reach, all those types of things, trying to figure out where those compensations are. So like Jeff was talking about, bending over, have a little bit of a compensation due to back pain or any other specific injury or limitation, and we can figure that out and help strengthen those areas that need to be stronger. So a big thing that a lot of longevity experts look at is finding out where you're at. So today, how many of us know where our blood values are? How many of us know how strong we are? Or how many of us know how far we can run, right? So those are big things that we need the data to know exactly where we are if we're going to find out where we need to be, right? And then that mind-body connection, that kind of plays back into how well we're moving, is just having the connection between your mind and your body to be able to move more efficiently. I'll point the thing at the TV. So this was a good quote by Peter, but you know, if you have the aspiration of kicking butt when you're 85, you can't afford to be average when you're 50, right? So along with that graph at the first, if we want to be able to do things when we're in later years of life, we have to prepare for that now. And that, even I'm 34 years old, and I feel this because I want to go hiking, and I want to do stuff like that. And if I can't do that right now, then I'm not going to be able to do that when I'm 65, 70. There's a couple of slides on beginning. I think that, first of all, what is our why? Why do we want to be stronger, more fit, healthy? My why is staying on the mountain, being able to hunt, doing those types of things. So, and that's tiered, right? So we have to figure out what we want to do at 50, what we want to do at 60, 70, 80, 90, even 100, right? And so planning ahead, that second bullet point there, we lose about 3 to 5% per decade from the age of 30 to 50% of strength, right? So that's where Dr. T is talking about. We have to stay up high if we want to continue to do the things that we love to do. And then again, that physical testing, knowing exactly where you're at so that you can plan for where you want to go. Dr. Mark Hyman is another longevity expert. He's a medical doctor, but he has a book. I'll have to look up the title to it. But he said exactly like I said at first. Lifespan is increasing the number of years in your life. Health span is increasing the quality of those years. Oh gosh. Okay. So again, like I said, what can we do to start? We got to take control of our health. So that means getting vital signs, getting blood testing, getting your blood values. You got to have those numbers to be able to know where you can improve to reach your overall goals. So planning. I included this slide just because it starts like today, right? It has to start at a certain point, and so as I read these books and as I'm learning more about longevity, it has to start today. You have to have those where you want to be. You have to set your goals for 65, 70, 80, and be able to work on that today because these changes don't happen overnight, right? So you have to. And a big point is, we got to take it one day at a time. It's not this quick process where you gain strength or change your blood values overnight. So remembering all the pillars of longevity when we're making a plan, right? So what should our diet look like? What supplements should we be taking? Are we taking time to actively think and meditate and do those types of things? And where is our health and well-being on a mental note? So this part of the presentation is we're just going to go over each of those pillars. Now, like I said, we could take an hour for each of these, so it's going to be very, very simple. Trying to give you guys something that you can start with today. Exercise, we're in the right spot, right? So. As me and Jeff first started talking about this, Peter does a training program that is looking at what he wants to be able to do when he's 80 and 90. So he does can I pick up a suitcase and put it in an overhead bin? Can I bend over and pick up a 30-pound weight like a grandchild? Those types of things. So we kind of put together this little fitness assessment form that we're going to torture our coworkers with eventually, but I think that it includes a lot of good points to where you can start getting those values, those strength values, and where you're at cardiovascular wise, all those types of good stuff. So, as a physical therapist, we see a lot of people that fall. And falling really reduces overall function. Right? So we have a person that falls, breaks a hip, that's the cliche, right? But in reality, we see a lot of that. So keeping your strength high as you get older, especially that strength and power, so that you're able to catch yourself if you stumble or bend over and pick something up off the floor without having and that also includes balance as well, but which which is that next piece, that neuromuscular control and movement quality. So we have to make sure that we're moving in ways that are effective and that we can continue to do those things without having significant issues. And then the joint motion and control, just taking care of our joints. And you know, I had a patient probably 6 months ago. I started running a little bit, and she asked me, "Well, don't your knees hurt?" And she was she wasn't a patient. She was their assistant, but she was like, "Doesn't that hurt your knees? Like you're too old for that." I'm like, "What? Like I'm 34 years old." But that just shows you that running is very good for, especially if you're not an elite runner, that it's shown to be very joint protective versus other activities. Movement, stability, and strength. There's lots of information on these slides. I don't want to take a lot of time, but you know, initially focusing on control of the motion, being able to actually perform each motion that we're doing. I know Jason and Kayla go over this a lot with their athletes in here. So, you know, and then you build strength on top of that, right? And then continuing to progress those functional movements to be able to further increase strength and endurance with those activities. Now, these are very sciencey. These are from a couple of different books that I've read. Outlived, as well as a book by Dr. David Sinclair, which is very sciencey but very good. So specific things that exercise can impact. Telomere length. So the telomeres are the little strands at the end of our DNA that protect our DNA from essentially damage, right? So exercise has been shown to protect those. It's also been shown to increase our mitochondria, which is you learn in school, the powerhouse of the cell, right? So that's the way that we create energy. Improves our cellular stress response, so we have less inflammation, and then it goes in reduced inflammation on this next slide as well. Sirtuins is something that I learned from Dr. David Sinclair's book. He talks about sirtuins as being guardians of our DNA, and so it helps activate them and keep them in the spots where they're supposed to be, instead of taking care of other free radicals. Improved DNA repair, so helps our DNA stay as tightly wound as it needs to be, and improves autophagy. So autophagy is essentially getting rid of all the bad stuff in our body. So all the dead cells, all the things that need to be cleared, that's what autophagy just takes care of that. So the biggest thing from all of that is that we can have a direct impact on our DNA with exercise. And we'll talk about lifestyle choices next, but those things we can have a direct impact on. Cardiovascular exercise. I've read a couple of studies since putting this presentation together about zone 2 exercise. So that's just a little bit lighter, right? So like 60% of our heart rate max is very beneficial for, like it says here, mitochondrial function, but then also it's been shown to further increase VO2 max. So when we test VO2 max and we're looking at that, that's going to tell us how much we can output from our system, right? So how much cardiovascular work we can do. So if we don't have as much VO2 max, we're not going to be able to do the activities that we want to do. And I've been looking for a chart that tells me exactly what each activity is on a VO2 max scale, so I'll have to keep looking for that. But
Yes, do you guys have a way to test VO2 max?
we do not.
Not yet.
No, we've been doing. Talk to Jeff.
Cooper's test is what we.
Okay.
So we're doing like a 12-minute run. See how fast or see how far you can go to get your VO2 max. So again, standard training for VO2 max or to increase VO2 max is, I mean, you can do it on a bike or on a treadmill or running out wherever is the Norwegian 4x4 type of strategy. So you're going 4 minutes at 90% of your heart rate max, and then you're taking a 4-minute rest. And then you do that 4 times. So community. great quote by Dr. Tia here. I totally agree with this. You got to surround yourself with people who are like-minded that want to help you improve, that want to help you succeed, and it's really a great way to achieve your goals. Also, being part of a community helps. You have that sense of belonging. You have increased ability of learning more as you teach others. That's a great positive of being part of a community, is that as you learn stuff, and Jeff's my guinea pig. So every time I learn something new, I tell Jeff, because I'm like, I gotta tell somebody, or else I'm not gonna remember it. And so he helps me out there. Sleep and recovery. So the next two are sleep and nutrition. So there's a lot of information about both of these next two pillars on the internet. And so I would say, find what works best for you, focus on the easy things that you can change, and then go from there, build on from there. So sleep, biggest thing is being consistent with your schedule, and I can definitely improve with this. But I also have 3 little kids that don't always want to go to bed. So, getting that 7 to 8 hours of sleep, making sure that you're avoiding caffeine and you're avoiding screens right before bed. I think the average is at least an hour. And then, like anything else, if sleep continues to be hard and you're still having problems with sleep, then I would say go find somebody that can help you out with that. It's a professional that does that all the time. I know now they have at-home sleep studies that make it super easy. And again, there's a lot of information on sleep. Find out what works best. Like with longevity, I've read multiple books and I've combined some of that stuff into this presentation so that I know that multiple professionals are saying the same types of things. Nutrition. Now this could be a presentation in and of itself because there's a lot of information. But main focus is metabolic flexibility, being able to eat whole foods that have the adequate nutrients that we need. And then that second one is the nutrient density, is just making sure that we are getting the vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, all those types of things that our body needs to, especially if you're working out and you're being active. Those things are very important to be able to fuel our bodies. And then, like that bottom one said, there's thousands of different diets, right? So it's not a one size fits all approach. And so you need to find something that works best for you, where you feel like you have the most energy that you have and that you can have, and that works best for your blood work. And that's where that data comes into play again, right? Making sure that that those blood values are staying consistent where you need them to be in order to get the nutrition that you need. So as with the sleep, if you need specific guidance, I know Kayla does a lot of nutrition stuff, and Jason, and so great resources there. As physical therapists, we don't give a lot of nutrition advice, so I'm not the expert on this one, but next one is brain health. So taking care of the neurological system. Exercise, like I said before, is a huge factor when we're talking about taking care of our brains. So in that second bullet point, brain-derived neurotropic factor and interstitial growth factor 1, those are things that help protect our brains. They're neuroprotective. So resistance exercise shows that, research shows that resistance exercise increases those in our body and helps protect our neurological system. And I think that third bullet point is very important too. We need to have cognitive stimulation. So we need to have, with exercise, as with anything we're doing, we need to make sure that we're continuing to think through things and figure out problems and do those types of things too. And then social connections, that fits right into community. Having a community of people that you trust and that you can have conversations with, and even a therapist. I know that's a stigma, but having a therapist is a great way to go, so you can talk through some stuff that you may need to talk through. I thought this was a really cool study showing that patients who participated in aerobic fitness training had increased brain volume and increased white and gray matter. So as we participate in aerobic bike, running, jogging, walking, anything like that, our brains are bigger when we do those things. A slide on challenging yourself cognitively, like I said, brain games, anything like that. I know there's tons of apps on your phone that you can play little brain games with. So those things are important as well, so we can stave off some of that neurodegeneration. And then emotional health and stress management. I think the biggest thing here is having that mind-body connection. A lot of the longevity experts talk about having some downtime where you can just think, having some time where you can do meditation or breathing techniques. Those are all very valuable in and of the sense that it can help reduce chronic stress. It can help with inflammation, hormone imbalances, and other physiological changes that we go through. So I think, like everything else, we need to approach this holistically. We need to be able to manage stress in multiple different ways, because not one way always works, right? So I was laying in bed the other night and kind of had a panic attack for unknown reasons, and I tried some breathing techniques and that didn't work. So then I tried some meditation and that didn't, right? So just having multiple different strategies that you can utilize to kind of quiet the system and focus on yourself is beneficial. And then picking activities that you enjoy. It's not always going to be fun, but it's going to be something that you're going to come back to, that you're going to continue to do because you know that it's helping you and that you enjoy it. And then that last one, meditation. I just got more into meditation and doing some mindfulness, but overall that's something that is not easy to do at first, but definitely helps. So the last two slides are just two quotes that I thought were really cool. So this one, it's not about being great at one pursuit, but being pretty good at just about everything. So this, Dr. T is talking about longevity as a whole, right? So, the centenarian decathlon is what he calls his program that he does to make sure that he's preparing for later years in life. So we're no longer training for a specific event, but to become a different sort of athlete altogether, an athlete of life. And Dr. David Sinclair, he is very forward on his thinking of longevity science. He works a lot with mice and yeast cells. So I don't know how much that's going to 100% translate, but he believes that aging is a disease and it's treatable, and I believe we can treat it within our lifetimes, and in doing so, I believe everything we know about human health will be fundamentally changed. I thought that quote was interesting. I don't know how much I on board with what he 100% says, because he's saying we could live to 150. So I don't know about that, but I think that ultimately taking care of our bodies and doing stuff that helps in this type of aspect will definitely get us further in that health span. So any questions? Jeff said he'd answer all the questions.